Everything you see here are dice that either aren't technically dice, have some unique format or shape, serve a special function, or are otherwise non-standard in some less obvious ways, including one that I can only ever use one time. But I will save that one for the end. I will try to leave a link to every single one of these in the description where possible, but a quick disclaimer, nearly every link in the description will be an affiliate link, meaning if you see something in the video that you really want to get for yourself or for a friend and you decide to buy it, there's a good chance I will earn a small commission on that purchase at no additional cost to you. And speaking of, now's a great time to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about some of these dice in the comments. But with that out of the way, we can now begin. We're going to start off with a set of dice that appear very normal. These are Reroll Dice. They're made by a company called Die Hard Dice. They're about what you would expect, but you might notice that the D6, for example, is a slightly different color than the rest of the set. And that's because this set of dice is made entirely from recycled byproducts of dice production. And in addition to that, Die Hard Dice contributes a set of these dice to Magic Kids for every set purchase, and contributes a percentage of the profits to a different charity every quarter. So yes, functionally, these are normal dice, but they actually do a lot of good. Now, continuing in no particular order, we have this thing. This is a Class Spinner by CZYY. You'll notice that it has basically every Dungeons and Dragons class on one side. For example, the Rogue, the Artificer, even the Blood Hunter, which is great. But then on the other side, you also have a fully functional D20. I got a 7 on that one. This is not the last spinning die that you'll see in this video, but I really do enjoy the visuals on this one in particular. Next, oh god. Next, we have a fully silicone jumbo D20. There's not much more to say about this one other than what I just described, except for the fact that this is actually a very durable D20. Since it's silicone, it is squishy, and that also means, of course, that you can bounce it. And I found that one, this bounces a lot more consistently than you might expect, but also holds up really well after aggressive bouncing. It's also great to use for very chaotic moments in gameplay, like maybe a wild magic surge. Now this one's fun. This is called the Founders Deck, and it's made by a company called Draw 20. It's actually a one-man team making this right now, but what makes this really cool is that this is a deck of D20s. The artwork in all of these is really cool because the lower the roll, the more depressing the artwork is. And the higher the roll, the more magical or triumphant. So you can see it diminish from a 20 to a 17 to a 13, down to a 10, and then a 4. And then you have the one with this shattering image. Having D20s in a deck like this isn't only a cool visual experience, but actually opens the door for a lot of interesting homebrew. For example, you could draw from one of these sets every so often as a karma deck, but whenever you draw, you don't put the card back in the deck. Or likewise, you can easily modify it by taking out a 1, taking out a 20, taking out whatever you want to achieve the effect that you need. Next we have these guys. You'll notice immediately that these are all D12s, but what makes them fun is that they are in fact generator dice. So for example, this is a loot generator. You could get magical weapons, coins, and so on. And then this is a trap generating D12. This one generates enemies or monsters. And then this one's actually a procedural dungeon die. These are made by Viridian Gaming, who actually do some really interesting stuff, and we'll see them again before the end of this video. And now, good enough. This is a D20 Ring. There's not really much to say about this one. Mine could definitely use some lubrication, but it's something fun to have and maybe keep on hand if you find yourself needing D20 rolls more often than you expect. Now this might be the cleanest die on the entire list. That's because it's a bar of soap. I'm actually not sure if you can buy this online. This was brought to me from a convention by one of my friends. This one is pear scented. And it actually smells really, really nice. Now on the topic of sets that I'm not sure you can find online, these are really, really funny. This is a set of 10 dice, and you might notice already there's some unusual shapes. So for example, this is a D7, this is a D9 in a similar shape, a D5, a D3, a D2, but my real favorite of all of this is this one. This is a D1. The 1 always rolls to a stop at the top. But all of these actually came from the Curiosity box, which is a quarterly nerdy variety box that the guy from Vsauce does, which is why I'm not sure if you can actually find this specific set anywhere to buy in a retail fashion. This one's very fun. You can tell that it spins for a long time, and you might already recognize the shape. This is like the spinning chamber of a revolver. When you pop up this latch, you can swing it out, and you see a full set of 7 dice, and they're all shaped like bullets, which makes this a great fit for a Western campaign, an artificer, or things like that. Ah, the CMY Cube. This is the same shape as a D20, which, by the way, if you know what that shape is called, let me know in the comments. But as you'll notice, there are no numbers, just colors. You have all the primary colors, blue, yellow, and red, but you'll also see that as you look through the die and combine colors, so for example, this is yellow looking through to a blue face, you can see green. I've been brainstorming some ways to use this in a game of D&D, but so far I haven't found any ideas that are very compelling. These are one of the more expensive, but not most expensive sets of dice on this list. This is the D20, which is this very intimidating looking UFO shape. It actually spins for quite a long time. But other shapes include this one, which is your D percentile, your D6, your D10 with this radioactive symbol, D12, and perhaps my personal favorite, which is the D4, which is a rocket-shaped one. These might not be the most practical to roll, but they are certainly visually stunning. This next one is pushing the limits a bit, but here it is. It's a D20 ice mold, and as you can see, it has a D20 in it right now. I actually have not unmolded this before. I put it in a while ago, intending to make a dwarven old-fashioned. It can be a bit tricky to get out, but once it's done, here we go. It's a D20 made from ice. And as an honorable mention, this is a D12 ice cube mold as well. Look at this. This is a D36. So there's the 1, there's the 36. And if you've been observant, you might notice already what's going on here. But this actually doubles as a 2D6 as well. That's because above and below each number are a set of dots. You can have as few as 1 dot or as many as 6. And between the top and bottom sets of dots, you have the representation of 2D6. And this actually has the same distribution of rolls that you would find when you rolled 2D6 over and over and over again, meaning there's only 1 2, there's only 1 12, but there's quite a few instances of 7, for example. Now this is made by a company called Impact Miniatures. I actually have a lot of dice by them, so I'm going to show you a few more of theirs right now, rapid fire style. This is a D26 alphabet die, a consonant D21, a vowel D5, and a D21. But if you think 21's weird, let me show you the rest of these. Almost all of these are a weird shape. This is a D11, a D16, a D7, a D3. Of course, you have your D100, a D60, a D15, and so on. Moving on to these, which have a lot more in-game application. These are called the cursed dice, and it might not be immediately clear why, but on close inspection, you will notice that there are in fact 2 1s on this D20, but not a 20, which is why it's cursed. The same thing applies with the mins and maxes on the rest of these dice as well. These are made by Awakened Realms and also make a blessed set of dice. To my knowledge, these are only available through a Kickstarter at the moment. This one is pretty odd. As you can see, this is one large cube, kind of like a giant D6, but it's got a lot more going on. So essentially, every side of this cube represents a different die and functions kind of like a roulette wheel, where you would spin it and see where the balls land. The D20 has 2 balls in case you want to roll with advantage or disadvantage. This is the D4 with 2 balls in case you need to roll 2D4. So that'd be a 2 and a 1, for example. The D6 has quite a few depending on what you need to roll. So if you need to roll 1D6, you look at the red, 2D6, you look at the black, 3D6, you look at the black and the red, 4D6, look at the black and the blue, and 5D6, you look at all of the balls. I know that sounds confusing, but it's really not that bad. This is called the Omni Dice, and it's made by a company called Unique Dice, which is a fitting name considering what they're making. And we'll see them again before the video is done, meaning right now. This is the Roulette Dice, also made by Unique Dice, as you can see right here. Essentially, you have this wheel on the bottom that you can spin with your thumb or whatever, and as you spin it, you'll have this arrow that shows you what you rolled on the corresponding die type. So for example, I got a 5 in the D12, a 5 in the D6, and it looks like a 2 on the D4. But on the other side, you have your D20, your D10 and percentile, and your D8. Ooh, almost got a nat 20, but I got a 2, I got a 10, and I also got an 8. This thing is fun because it's about the size of your palm, and it's just got really cool vibes. For me, this is very, very steampunk artificer. It's also just a great silent fidget to have in your hand where you can just kind of spin while you're waiting for your turn in combat, for example. It's also made of metal, so it's not going to break anytime soon. They also have a holiday version for whatever reason. But if steampunk and artificer isn't so much your vibe, you're more of a necromancer kind of person, check these guys out. These are the Bone Dice by Lynx. The D20 is just a bunch of skulls kind of stacked on top of each other. Your D8 looks like different pelvis bones, get these kind of ribcage look for the D10s, and the D4 and D6 are both these classic bone shapes, which I for one really enjoy. They also have this more stained bone style, which as you can see I have not yet opened. Now this and these are gonna look just like a couple random dice I found, but actually they're the most unique dice in this entire video. And that's because these are all defect dice. This is a big chunky D8, but the D1 is missing its black die. Likewise, this is a D4, but one of the sides is not only missing the ink, but also missing the numbers completely. All three of these and a few more that I have since lost came from a bag of disappointment dice by Viridian Gaming. It's a mystery set of dice, but basically every set you get has some form of defect and is usually a mixture of different dice. I really cherish these just because I know no one else has the same ones. Now this is a pocket watch, or at least it looks like one, but when you open it up, you'll find inside of it pretty much the smallest dice that you'll ever encounter in real life. That is my pinky nail, and this is the D20. So these are really your concealed carry dice if you ever need something like that. And I actually really enjoy the detail on the container that these came in. These are blank dice. I couldn't tell you why I got them, and I have not used them since I bought them. I want to say I found these in AliExpress, but I really can't remember. Now, of course, I could not do this video without including the Ascendice by the Shop of Many Things. It's a D20 that floats. You can orient it whatever way that you want. So if you want your any given number up in the air, for example, you can do that. You can see that there is nothing underneath it. It's all just magic and magnets, baby. Spin it one day and it spins like that until I stop it again. If you're really curious about this one, I did an entire video reviewing it, and I'll try to link that in the description or tag that in the video. This is a set of dice that was sent to me. It comes in a case like this, and they are all light up dice. So when you roll them, they flash. They're pretty cool, but I do wonder whether they're actually balanced. My guess is probably not. And then last but not least, we have this. This is the D20 that I can only ever use once. And so I haven't used it yet. But if this video happens to get 10,000 likes, then I will. But this is the Emergency D20. It's the size and shape of a business card, and it functions because of this little circle. This is a scratch off. Just like a scratch off lottery ticket, you could take a coin or something else hard, scrape it, and underneath you would find a number between 1 and 20. As you can see, I got this from foambrain.com, but last I checked, they don't sell these anymore. So I'll search around and see if I can find somewhere else to get them so I can link those for you guys. And so there you have it, a bunch of weird, unique, and otherwise non-standard dice for the dice goblins in your life or in your heart. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite, and in the meantime, have an excellent day.